Okay, hopefully I have the video set up for what I want to talk to you about. We know this start was not ideal, and she wasted a lot of time and energy here. It takes her almost 2 minutes to get off this start and going down the track, which we would like to greatly reduce. That does include all the show me your start and all that stuff. So it's probably more like a minute and a half with her actually working. And it's hard for me to see because of the camera angle, but we certainly would like to get a better start than this. I would say that you could get on her a little bit about the P-mail. I would precede anything that you do with a verbal so that the verbal will hopefully carry over to a test. Hey, get back to work. Are you working? Get out of that. That's none of your business, that kind of thing. I do not jerk the line to correct for that type of behavior. I walk up to the dog and take them away from the P-mail or whatever they're looking at. And then, but I do a verbal beforehand so they know it's coming. So, I mean, it's not harsh either. It's just, no, you may not do this right now. You are working and this is not a time for P-mail. So we both know that you're working on the turf aspect. And of course, being right along the sidewalk, it's very likely that there were dogs being walked by that use the grass to go pee in. So that's understandable, but she has to be able to work through it. Looks like a little bit of backtracking there. And this start should be pretty much a gimme because it's a strip of grass between a fence and a sidewalk. Now, the decision to let her work the sidewalk, that's up to you. If I were getting ready for a test, I would imminently, I would probably let my dog work this sidewalk to see what happens. She gets back on the track fairly quickly, so that's good. But the other option, of course, would be to say, no, this isn't happening. You're going to work this grass. Now, it's interesting that as you came to the end of the fence and the shrubs there, she just hooked around immediately. It's very typical. So when you see that behavior, you're going to treat it with a little bit of caution. The track could have gone that way, hooked around. In fact, doing that, setting up that same start and hooking around and going in on that would probably be a good thing so you could see the difference. Now here, when you're telling me what's going on, you're asking for commitment. I want you to be careful about asking for commitment right when there's a transition. And I think what you're doing with the line has been good in general, that you're staying closer to her, but you have 40 feet of line, so you need to use it to your advantage. If I need commitment, I would have let her go to the other side to get that commitment. Hopefully that makes sense. She went too fast. I didn't get to talk it out. So her indication was good. And I like the fact that you let her go this way. It kind of looks like tracking, so you go with her, but then it's not really her tracking. You do verbally praise about this point, which is great. So this looked very nice. She did what a lot of dogs do in the field. She indicated the correct direction and says, I have to check and make sure. She made sure, and then it was a lovely transition into the hard surface. I think the augmentation helped quite a bit. I think I can see the water spray line, and she's very, very close to it. Looks happy, confident, and committed. What's not to follow there. So that looked really nice, and I could tell that you could feel her lock into the article, which is great. Personally, I would have given her water here. You've worked some asphalt, and you have some asphalt to work up ahead of you, so I would have taken the opportunity to give her water right then. So this next part is going to be in slow motion. Oh, sorry for that little clip. So we already talked a little bit about her head nod. You tell me the turn is coming up. She head nods there, and I thought the turn was on the sidewalk, but I think it was past the curb end. So she actually showing lots of track before she's very far away from the turn. And there was another head nod to the right, and then a body turn to the left. So it looks like you backed up here, which is great. And if you'd seen the head nod, you might have backed up even faster. But now look at the area that she's working and kind of keep track of where she's been and already looked and hasn't been confident to move away from. Because I think you're kind of getting stuck at the 15 foot and always asking her to commit at that point. It may be that she can't reach it or can't. There's something difficult about this spot at 15 feet. So you have 40 feet of line, I'm assuming. So I want you to start being willing to use it more judiciously. So I like the fact that you went with her on an investigative trip here. She starts pulling, but she's willing to give it up and say, no, this isn't it. Coming back. And then it looks like you're backing up again, which is good. But you have to, once she gets within a certain range of you, kind of have to stop backing up so that you're not guiding her. Be like, you could do an obedience recall and keep backing up and she'd keep coming to you. I don't think you crossed any boundaries here, but just keep that in mind. I love the fact that you were counting how many times she had circled and decided to break that with water. That was a good move. Even if you had given her water just before at the article, you could have done this. And now I've lost track of where you are oriented to. So it looks like you're not lining up with the next leg, so that's good. But I believe when you talk about it, you talk about asking her to commit before she gets into the area, any area that she hasn't been in already. So she's already kind of searched the area between the parking stall lines. So what we need to do at this point is help her get out of that area, get beyond, so she can hit the leg of the track in an area that she hasn't been in yet. So it's at this point that I would probably start to circle with her, although she saves you and she does start going out. Now, again, you're asking her to commit at a fairly short distance. In this case, she can handle it. Just be aware she's got some transitions to work there and it may be a difficult spot for her. So you might want to give her more line to commit. Now here she goes. Oh, at full speed.
Good girl.
I did not understand that. That seemed too early to me.
Good girl.
Pulling solidly away from you when you start saying good girl. I don't know, maybe you felt a change in the line. Maybe her pull was reduced, but I would be careful of that. And this turn is kind of the same thing as that turn out of the parking lot. You keep saying how she's not willing to dig in. She's not willing to commit. Well, you have 40 feet of line to help her with that. She's not interested in any other direction. So you can either start following her tentatively at 15 feet or 20 feet, or you can feed out line with tension to get her past the point where she's broken off a couple of times already to see what she'll do if she has more line. Now, of course, you also need to do this when she is not correct to make sure that she will break off, even if you give her 40 feet of line, if that's not the correct direction. But what keeps happening is you're expecting her to be able to find the track and commit to it in an area that she's already said, I'm not sure. Now, maybe you've given her slightly more line here, but I want you to think of it a little bit sooner. If you do give her line to help her feel committal to a leg. Then once you've decided to follow her, your first course of action is that you need to catch up on the line to your baseline distance, because your next turn could come within 50 yards, and it can feel very short. 50 yards can feel very short. So if you feed out line with tension to help her make her decision, and then you say, okay, this is it, your first task is to catch up on the line. Once she got past that point, she looked really good on the sidewalk. And of course, her article indications are really nice. And you told me that you changed the track design here because I sent you to a dead end. This is a very difficult spot. It has lots going on. Corner of a building, sun to shade, closed to open. The addition of traffic, if there was any. Little shake off there. And then that looks nice. I forget exactly where the track is. I think you go into the grass and then make a turn. I'm sure there's probably critter stuff here. And again, I don't recall what you said. I didn't review it this morning. Oh, looks like maybe she's slightly off here. But yes, I would have gone with that. Now she's showing lots of track. Swinging to the correct side. Definitely searching behavior. And she hasn't really given you a reason to give her line yet. She hasn't showed interest in anything other than the P-mail. And again, I would have gotten on her about the P-mail a bit. Walk up to her, remind her of her task, maybe give her resend her on the Star article. But if you're asking for commitment, I can't remember what you'd said, but if you're asking for commitment right at that transition from brick to asphalt, that's the wrong move. I would give line with tension at that point, even to the point of getting her across the road if I needed to, although it looks like you're having to wait for traffic. Because if you give her line, she can get there and you can still preserve this location in case she does something like this. That was beautiful. She goes up there. It's investigative. She goes up there. She says, no, it's not there. But if you're asking for commitment, which you've been doing right at 15 feet, right when she's at a transition in a difficult place, it's probably not going to be confidence building for her. So use your line. You're dragging it behind you. You might as well use it. Let her get into the grass and then ask for commitment.